some motherfuckers in the second round of the European Club Cup, and Go won a so easy game against the Benoni. He ended the game with more than 1 hour in the club, so let's see how to punish so easy the Benoni, only with induced ideas and typical ideas, and a little bit of calculated football, which is necessary. Okay, Maghsoodloo opens with d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight f3, bishop d3, e3, sword castle, bishop a2, c5. Now this is a Benoni instructor, d5, d6, and that's what we know like the Benoni. Now black plan is going to be break in the queen side, and sometimes break on e6 too and take the control of the e5. And white plan is going to be push the pawn to e5 simply. If white managed, there are more plans of course, but if white managed to play e5 in good condition, white is going to be fine. And if black managed to break on the queen side, black is going to be fine. So that's the position. That's the plan of the position. And of course, white will avoid that black breaks on a6, b5, of course. Okay, knight c3, control d5, control b5, good move, e6, and now interesting move from Maghsoodloo, knight d2. The idea of this move is okay, take control of e4 and free the f pawn to campus or to f4 to help e5. Sorry, or in one moment to defend f3, e4 with f3. And knight d2 is a typical move. For the moment, Maghsoodloo is blitzing all his move, of course. Here, Benedict take directly on d5. Maybe it's possible to play knight d6 and rook d8 first, but in one moment with black you should just take on d5. So, but Benedict Krause, he decided to take directly on d5. He takes knight a6, typical move, trying to go to c7, square where attack d5 and defend d5 to break. So that's typical for black to go to c7 with the knight. Sword castle, knight c7, and now of course white plays e4, defend the d5, rook e8, and now a4. Okay, e4 in this move is not necessary, f3 was possible, but Maghsoodloo is preventing in some moment one rook b8, b5 ideas, or a6, b5 ideas, so she decides to directly prevent that with a4, rook b8, and now he defends the pawn. Of course, this pawn is defended by two knights. This pawn is not under attack, but what happened that white wants to jump to c4 with the knight. So for that reason, he first should defend the e4 pawn with f3, to then can go to c4 with the knight. a6, and now black is threatening b5. So what's the typical response here? a5, stopping that. And of course, black can play b5 the same way, but after en passant capture, the extractor is not the same. The good extractor for black is, for example, let's put a stupid move. This extractor is another thing. This is so good for black. But if he should recapture on b6 and have the pawn on a6, this is bad because this first, the e6 pawn is going to be weak, and second, white have this square for the knight. So for that reason, Maghsoodloo plays, of course, a5, bishop d7, knight c4. Here bishop b5, good move of Benedict. And knight b5 here, Harmus saying just bishop b2 or something, bishop b5. Just trying to trade this knight. Bishop g5. Until here, Maghsoodloo are playing fast. He has more than 1 hour and a half. He's blitzing his move. Here, black takes on c4. He had the possibility of playing c6 here. Bishop h4, and now take on c4, take, b5, take, f4, and here b5 or queen d7, and black is more or less fine. But wait, he take on c4, fine, bishop a6, and here was the last call to play a6. Here, that's the right moment to play the move. Because here bishop s6 have no power like in the game. So, yes, he should go back to h4. And yes, this line was fine for black, more or less. Instead of that, okay, he take on c4, bishop take. But the problem is that he played b5 first. He made a wrong order. It was better just play a6 first, because now with h6, white is obligated to go to h4 back, and white here cannot take on f6, like in the game. The problem of the move order or Benoni is that after b5, pawn takes, rook takes, f4, here f6, h6 fail, because white have the option, the extra option of take on f6 to make Parham Maghsoodloo in the game. And followed by d5 and a5, who is what he made. For that reason, black should have played a6 before. Now in this preceding move, the better move was knight b5. But here just the white plan is rook a e1 followed by e5. That's the white typical plan in this position. Okay, the problem after a6 is that here Maghsoodloo makes a great sequence. Maghsoodloo still bleeding his move. He have more than 1 hour and a half here. Still bishop f6. And now black have to recapture. Bishop f6 could move. Understand this idea. If black take with the queen, just e5. But okay, queen takes was the best move. But let's see why. E5. If black takes, who is bad? Just d6. Rook d6, knight e4. And if queen d6, bishop f7 and take on e5. So he cannot take on e5, but he should just move the queen. For example, queen f5, d4, queen d7, and of course, white managed his whole at this strong pawn center, but he lost. In the other hand, he lost the dark square bishop, but now this bishop is strong, of course. But white is pushing here so much. Knight d4, d takes, and now the same idea like in the game, f5, knight d5, d6, open the bishop, d5, queen 2, and now only move rook d6, knight d6, knight d6, and rook d1. White is slightly better. And the strongest move was queen h4, d3, queen h3, b3, knight d5, knight d4 was stronger for black. Instead of that, Benoni take with the bishop, who used to be more typical, but here is also bad because everything works for white. Maghsoodloo still playing blitzing, of course. He plays e5, d takes, and now the great idea, f5. What he want making all of that? Just have this square for the knight and close the bishop. That's the idea for a reason he didn't play f5 yet because he's having the e4 square and this bishop is still open. No, great idea e5. He takes f5. Great idea. Okay, black. Let's analyze what black can do. For example, if he takes, for example, here the position is completely winning for white. So, but okay, let's understand why. If he takes f5, rook takes e4, and here I play e4, of course, to open the bishop because it's so you like if white lands a knight on e4, white is winning. So e4, trying to make something, but here we have queen e4 and knight d4. If a4, have f takes d6, bishop d4, just give this one. So Krause plays g5, trying to close the file for the rook, and this diagonal and not allow white to open the king. But here, yes, 94, just blockading the bishop and white is just winning. Black have a pawn up, but the huge problem is that this knight is also good. Now white is attacking the king with rook f3, rook h3, and something like that. And yes, especially this bishop is blockaded, this pawn is so strong. In one moment, white is going to play d6 and open this bishop. This pawn is weak too, but white is just weak here. Rook d6, queen h5, king e7, rook f3, queen 7, rook g3 was possible too, followed by h4, but rook b3 was so good. Knight d5, and now rook h3, rook h8, and white finally take the exchange, take the rook and just rook h7, rook b3. You cannot take because in f7, queen c4, queen d6, queen f6, and just Benedict resign. Very, very good game of Maghsoodloo. And the most important is so instructive because the position have no great calculates because okay, the calculate you should make over the board. You cannot learn. uh, Okay, you can learn how to calculate, but it's not the same. But the positional is a great game and so easy to learn the game and understand all the plans that matters to game and made during the game. At first, I understand this typical plan of here of knight sorry, of 92, preparing e4, the first typical move. Then e4, a second typical move, defending the black expansion on the queen side. Okay, f3, other typical move, preparing knight c4, defending the e-pawn to prepare knight c4. a6, typical, so also important. a5, and now uh, here maybe the most instructive moment was here. Okay, here of course f4, following the plan of play 5, and the most instructive moment of the game maybe was here, h6, and instead of the typical, the normal retreat with bishop h4, here where I have this typical positional idea, bishop takes f6, bishop takes e5, pawn takes and f5, just closing the bishop and win the game. Okay, he ended the game in a good way. So a really, really great game of Maghsoodloo was this was my favorite game of the second round of the European uh, Club Cup. So let's see how was the tournament the following round. There are very strong, many strong teams, so it's going to be an interesting tournament. Bye bye, motherfuckers.